This is Alan Troyer with CatForms, and this is a narrated screen recording of the CatForms test records program, our test scoring side of the business, and we'll be looking at the hardware and infrastructure used to run that and also the programs that are used. First of all, for development and general computing, I use a laptop. I have a ThinkPad Carbon, about a year old. Also use a ThinkPad P50, an older computer in connection with the scanning. For monitors, I have a dual monitor setup with just standard HD resolution. Recommend that for efficient work, one with the server window on the left side and one with the CatForms record site on the right side. For scanning and printing, I have a Konica Minolta C454 multifunction copier, scanner, and printer. For scanning, I recommend a duplex scanner that is reasonably fast and that's wide enough to feed the long edge first. And here is what the scan sheets look like. The test shipping checklist, the raw scores form, and then the student response sheets. For printing, I also use that one along with a Xerox 6360 printer, and I recommend a fast duplex color printer to print tests because there's a lot of printing involved. On the infrastructure side, for scoring, the database storage, a web server, production computing, I use a Windows Server 2019 on UpCloud, and we'll be taking a look at that shortly. As far as the programs used for development, I use Instant Developer, which is the product of an Italian company, and that is used to actually make the CatForms Records web app. And it compiles to C# and JavaScript, and I've been using it for a while now, and I like it fairly well. For the dashboard and center of operations, we are going to the CatForms Records site. This is a special one. Notice it's training.catformsrecords.com. To get to this, you can also go to rockyridgeschool.org, and it will redirect to that. We have a special login, Rocky Ridge username. We'll go ahead and log in here. And this is what you'll be seeing if you are taking the training, and very similar to what you'll see if you're doing production scoring work. Under the CatForms admin, we have browsing, and these are simply the sample schools and information related to that. We can also look at all the people that are in the sample communities and information about them there. And then we can go to the test records side of things. We have a list of all the achievement tests that are in the Rocky Ridge School. We notice the first ones are the 2020 achievement tests, and if we scroll on down, there are achievement tests from previous years as well. And then we have other tables here. We have the form for entering raw scores. We have the processing tables here. These are associated with the exports when we are actually scoring tests. But the main thing we're working with is the dashboard. And we'll go ahead and select a school here. We don't have very many to choose from here since these are sample schools. But if we choose the Rocky Ridge School most recent test for this year, hit refresh, there's nothing. And that is because there are no tests on file for 2021. So let's go to within the last 2 years, refresh. We have them listed by grade and then by first name. First grade, Kathy W. Martin, her birth date, her unique identifier as a person, the individual breakdown of her name and birth date and gender. Her most recent test was 4/21 of 20, and that was scored on August the 6th of this year. And there's another way we can display here. We have first name and last name. We can also do last name and first name, and that is handy when you are searching for last names in the scoring process, and we'll look at that later. You can print reports as well straight out of here. Choose a Rocky Ridge School, starting date of 2020, and we'll hit the check mark here. This is being processed on the server, and so the speed, the internet connection that you have, the speed is not that important since it's done on the back end and then sent here. And here we have the whole list of the 2020 tests, starting with the achievement test profiles, going on down to the achievement test analyses. And at the end of the file, we have the class summaries. Those can be downloaded, but we'll just go ahead and close that window for now. For working on the server then, we have to access that through a special window, and that is the VNC viewer. And here we have the UpCloud server. We'll go ahead and double click on that. And there are several user accounts. This is the CatForms training account, and it accesses a database that is separate from the production database so that you can't mess things up too badly there. And here's where we do the actual scoring. The scoring is done using Remark Office, and that is a specialized program that will read that scan file that you saw earlier. This file right here, and turn it into rows. Each row here is a student record, Christopher Davis here, and so on down the line, and then it reads the bubbles and translates them into letters. Vocabulary row 1 or item 1 is a C in this case, and so on. There's information that has to be entered manually as well. That is the Remark Office Data Center. And then the actual storage of the records is done on SQL Server. Here we have the CatForms sample server, only sample information, the CatForms records database, and here we pull up a list of all the people. And that's just a glimpse of how those are stored. And most of the actual processing takes place in SQL Server as well through stored procedures. And then just a few other things. We use I use OneNote for documentation and keeping track of daily activity, and use Dropbox to share files. They're scanned, stored in Dropbox, and then they can be accessed. And so right now we're running in the server. We'll go ahead and close that server window. And that is it for this introduction.